Hi. Almost everyone watches me without a subscription. Please support my channel with a subscription. I try for you. Thank you.
Story 1. OOP discovers his future MIL's affair, and now the family is My girlfriend came over to my apartment today to study and do some homework as she still is in university. When she arrived and started to unpack, she noticed her laptop wasn't in her bag, and being the good boyfriend I am, I told her to not worry and that I will drive over to her house and grab it. I really wish I hadn't. My GF still lives at home and I am really close to her parents. Both of us are. In fact, I see them as my own. Reason being, my parents are toxic and it's best to go no contact with them for my own sanity. Her father, on the other hand, is a positive male role model in my life, great job, positive attitude, and always gives good advice emo. He's a great guy, not much else to say. I think highly of her mother as well, caring, loving, and always supportive of my relationship with her daughter. They both love me, and it's the reason why today shocked me to the core. I have a key to their house, and as I entered, living room is first room upon entry, I see my future MIL and some stranger having sex. Fully nude, not hiding anything. As soon as they saw me, my MIL started panicking and both ran into the back of the house away from me. I heard my MIL cursing over and over. As soon as I realized what was happening, I just backed out of the living room and stood on the front porch. I honestly didn't know what to do. It didn't feel like my place to confront them as it's not my fight, so after about 5 minutes, I re-entered to see the stranger walk past me out of the door, followed shortly by my MIL. As he left, she looked to me and started crying. She broke down and tried explaining the situation away. How their marriage had been suffering and how she loves FIL but feels so unsatisfied. She begged me not to say anything, that it was a mistake and it would nuke the family. She was hysterical. I just sorta looked at her. What was I supposed to say? The begging wouldn't stop. She even grabbed onto my shirt. She wanted me to not say anything and let it be swept under the rug. I told her flat out that I'm not lying to save herself. She then begged to be the one to tell FIL, to at least give her that. So in the interest of getting the fuck out of there, I just said sure and went to retrieve what I was there for. I then went immediately home. I haven't told my GF yet as she's still working on assignments, but I plan on telling her afterwards. I'm sad. It's devastating knowing that the comfortable family I found and felt finally a part of is about to be nuked into the sun. I can't imagine how my FIL is going to take this. He's a good guy and definitely doesn't deserve getting his heart broken like this. I'm also sad for what my girlfriend is about to hear and what will come of it. It's such a huge shitty situation that I wish I never had any part of. My poor GF and FIL. Update: so I told my GF everything I saw when she finished her homework. She was devastated and crying like I have never seen before. We talked for a good few hours, where she disclosed to me that her mom had cheated on her father once before when she was just a child. The affair partner was a boss from her work and had gone on for a few years by that point. She only knew about it later down the line because a family member told her. After I settled her down, I could tell her sadness turned to anger. Around 2 a.m, she insisted we go confront her mom and tell her father everything. I tried talking her out of it and to do this on another day and at a better time, but she doubled down saying her mother doesn't deserve peace. So we ended up at her parents' house early in the morning. They were just settling into bed. The look on my MIL face was obvious. She knew what was coming. It was fucked up. I have never seen my girlfriend scream and cuss someone out so hard. Every single possible insult was used. My GF told her mother that she's going no contact for good. When things calmed down, her father was clearly baffled and had a lot of questions. I told him everything. What I saw, what I was doing, why I was there, and what MIL said to me. I could tell I just sank this poor man's heart. His eyes filled up with tears, but he just remained silent. I guess she hadn't told him, which I knew was the plan all along. Typical fucking cheaters. After another 20 to 30 minutes of cussing, screaming, and crying, I was able to get my GF and I to leave. I felt so bad for her and FIL. I felt responsible for destroying what I thought was, beautiful family. I mean, I don't regret at all spilling the beans, but I just wish I wasn't at the center of it all. I don't want to break the people who I love, hearts. Feels like a nightmare, and reality was just turned upside down. When we got home, I got a text from Phil saying thanks for being honest and transparent with him. He said he loves me and that we will get through this. He's a great guy. I just can't believe that piece of shit woman did this to him. After a night of little to practically no sleep, I got out of bed this morning and made some breakfast for my girl. We talked and I think she's handling better now, but still not great. I invited Phil over if he wanted a place to stay or just to lay low for a while. He surprisingly took me up on the offer and came over shortly after. Phil and I had a pretty lengthy conversation on how he felt and what the next steps are. He looked disoriented but managed to handle himself well, given all that has happened. It's clear he's deeply in love with Mil. He kept saying he wants to try and fix it. GF and I both think that's a bad idea. He told us that the person Mil originally cheated on him with was the same guy she was having sex with. It had been over a decade since she was first caught and must have kept this man in the shadows. I can't believe he's willing to work through this knowing that. I couldn't at all. My GF later asked where her mom was. Apparently she left in the middle of the night after we left. No one knows where she's at. I wouldn't be that surprised if she was at her AP's house. Honestly, I'm sick to my stomach over it all. I feel like I destroyed a family. The people who I really care about are broken and hurt. It really sucks. I hate it all and wish people would just be decent human beings. Story 2. Wife inherits money and doesn't tell her husband. I didn't tell my husband. My partner 31M and I 25F are having our second child, and he hasn't been working due to an in-work injury, so for the last 2 going on 3 months it's been very stressful for us. My paternal aunt gave me half of what she got from selling my grandma's house, her mother. She inherited it last year due to my grandmother passing away, and she spent 6 months getting my moochers of a father and brother out of the house and fixing it up. We haven't spoken since the funeral, and last week she called to meet for lunch, and when I went she handed me a check worth over $200K. I didn't understand, but she said my grandma thought of me as a daughter and I was the only one other than her that took care of her and my grandpa, and while they didn't have the money to give me she sold the house and after talking to her husband decided I deserved half of it. My hormones were everywhere and she had to help me calm down because we were in so much debt. I felt so thankful. She told me she wasn't giving anything to anyone else and would prefer for me not to tell anyone, so I didn't. I put it in my account, and once it cleared I began slowly paying off my husband's and my debt. I paid people back that had loaned us money, cleared our credit cards, paid our car off, put $10K in our daughter's savings account, and planned to make one for our second child when it's born. I didn't tell my husband because we have separate finances and have since we got together. He doesn't even know what our debts were or how far behind we were, so I didn't think he would notice, but he watches his credit, and when he says that it went up and that I had received a letter from my community college that my debt was paid, he asked me. I told him my aunt gave me money, but not how much, and he tried accessing my bank account. When he couldn't get in, he took my debit card without me knowing and went to an ATM and saw the balance. He yelled at me for hiding it. I told him it doesn't matter because we were no longer in debt and we could finish our degrees. He walked out and hasn't spoken to me in 3 days. I requested a new debit card and changed my information regarding my account because now I don't trust him not to try to buy something. I admit I should have told him, but it's not like he knows how much money I make from my job. I don't know what to do. Edit. Okay, so reading the comments, I need to answer some questions. He doesn't like my family at all. I met him when I was a kid because he was my older brother's best friend. Things changed when we got together when I was 19 and they don't speak anymore. He avoids anything to do with my family. Most of our relationship is great. We agreed to have 1 kid because I dreamed of being a mom. But during the pregnancy, he treated me like crap, and even after our daughter was born, he continuously made me feel like a bad mom for asking him for help when I was exhausted and he just wanted to play games or drink. He only started helping and being supportive after being separated for a few months and us getting counseling. He and my daughter both have my last name. I wanted joint finances when we got married and he didn't. I was only in debt of $5,000 from my college at the time and he had some, but he told me he had it covered, which I found out he did not. What I meant about him not knowing how much in debt we were is that he'd open credit cards in both our names and max them out, and then when he couldn't use them anymore he'd apply for more. I did not know this until hiring a firm to help get my credit up. They told me I could press charges or pay them off. I wanted to pay it off because he's my husband, and even if he put us in debt, I do love him. We didn't want more children. He got into a fight with his sister and she did something she shouldn't have, but he also refused to get snipped. We didn't find out I was pregnant until it was too late for another option. We moved in with my mom to help us get things back on track, and he got hurt at work. Yes, I believe he is depressed, but he's also blown all the money he had saved on video games, liquor, and pot. He didn't spend a dime on any of the debt he caused or for our daughter. He makes more than I do, but with the way he spends his money, it's like we live on one income. Do I trust him? Yes, I do in almost every way I can except for money, and he's proven that again and again. I also have been giving him small portions of the money so he can still go and do things he wants to do. It's not like I'm just hoarding it away from him. I just didn't tell him that it wasn't from my paychecks like he assumed. He has the pins to my debit card. Because while I didn't tell him about the money, I do let him use it when he needs to. In the comments, I've tried multiple different birth controls and the side effects make it difficult. However, my doctor and I have decided to tie my tubes because I've had multiple miscarriages and high-risk pregnancies. I didn't plan to have any more kids, but his sister poked holes in our condoms, and by the time we found out I was pregnant, we couldn't get an abortion in our state due to being past 6 weeks. His sister ruined that for us by poking holes in them after they got into an argument. I didn't react well to birth control, and cause of my age, a doctor won't make it more permanent. Not at all he didn't want more kids either, but refuses to get snipped. It took me going to 4 different doctors to find someone that would do it. Update: I'm not sure if this is how you update, but I figured I would go ahead and try. If you're watching my post, thanks for the advice, and even if some of the comments weren't that nice, I'm still thankful. Over the last 3 days, I've spoken to my mom and my in-laws. My husband reached out to her that he didn't want to be with me anymore, but it wasn't because of the money, it was because he felt forced to get married and have a baby, and even though we got pregnant with the second one because of his sister, he still blames me. 6 years together and felt like he refused to talk about it. Even when we were in counseling. I asked his mom what he wanted to do because he wasn't answering my phone calls or messages, and she said she sent him money for a plane ticket so he could go to her. I am heartbroken that she didn't tell him to try harder for his kids. After all, his dad left him and his siblings. But I can't force him to stay, and I have to think about them right now. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I spoke to a lawyer my friend used for his divorce yesterday, and he's going to help me draw up a divorce plan. He said my husband can go after the money, but he doesn't think he will. I'm filing for full custody and will be asking for a minimum in child support unless he wants to sign his rights over. I'm done being stupid and thinking he would grow up. I packed his things and hired a moving company to take them to his mom's house, so all his stuff will be gone in a few days too. My first clue he didn't want our daughter was that she was not even crying asking where he is. She's just running around with me and my mom. I did send him a little bit of money for his travels and told his mom I'll send the divorce papers as soon as I get them. She just told me okay and hung up. So that's what's been happening the last few days. Haven't spoken to my soon-to-be ex-husband, and I am now fully on my own since I was 19. I'm hoping everything goes good. Hopefully I don't have to update again.